Hey YouTube, happy Friday. So this is my pal Andrew's Manson Matt Muse guitar. I fitted a sustainer to it. So what this is not a Fernandez sustainer. This is the cheap one, the one that somebody in Indonesia or somewhere out that way makes these things. So it's kind of like a wee handmade circuit board in it. But as far as I can tell, it seems to be exactly the same thing. So this one's had some mods I've been in this one before, the blue lights, and which didn't work. So we've got 4 switches here. First one is a coil choice. So in the humbucker it gives you either north coil or south coil, or in the middle it's a humbucker. The next one's just an on-off switch, just a kill switch. Turns off the guitar. The next one is the 2 modes of the sustainer. One of them's called feedback or something like that, and one of them's normal, I think. Not really sure exactly what they do. And the last one turns on the sustainer. I wanted to put a light bulb on the front, but I didn't want a light bulb on the front. So as a compromise, basically just doing what I wanted. There's already a light bulb on a wee LED on the actual circuit board. So what I've done is I cut a wee hole in the back of the back plate here, and then put sellotape behind it to make a wee window, so when you turn it on you can see that it's on. For me, I kind of the bulb was there anyway, but for me I want to have that just so I know it's on. It's actually quite bright. You're not seeing it just now. If I, it's kind of like the Hello Kitty guitar. It's a bit retina burning. If you stare straight on it, you can see it's starting to do the stuff there. Yeah, so the other thing this does is we've just got a tone control and a volume control. We've also got a kill switch up here, which works quite well with the sustainer. I hadn't really thought of that. What this does is, so this pickup is not a pickup. So the 3-way toggle switch, what they've done is, which I wondered, it was the bit I didn't understand about the wiring, but it makes sense now. So bridge pickup, it's the bridge pickup. In fact, I'll probably turn it off without the fuzz pedal for just now. So there's your bridge pickup, and then one coil, other coil, both coils. Fairly easy, but seeing as there's no bridge pickup anymore, no neck pickup, when you put this into the neck position, it kind of sounds a bit like a neck pickup. It's basically they've cheated and put a cap over the switch. So it's kind of like a sort of tone control-y type thing, which makes it sound. What does it do in the middle? Yeah, the middle. I thought that because the cap's there, the cap's on anyway. So you basically got a sort of pseudo neck sound in the middle and in the neck position. When you go to the bridge, you get the full bridge. That's about it really. I'm not really good at using this thing. I'm using the fuzz pedal just straight up because that's the guy I borrowed all those fuzz pedals off, the big muffs stuff. He likes his fuzz. I think he has them all on his board at the same time. So if he has them all running into each other, I have no idea what's going to happen. Especially that one I really quite liked, which I'm going to have to try and get my hands on. Is it the Fuzz Factory, which does crazy stuff. It's really good. One of the things that it said was apparently it's a modified fuzz face. So it's basically just a fuzz face circuit with an extra couple of knobs put in it. So I'm kind of tempted to try and do that myself, maybe. It's like that wee Delamo fuzz, the one I played to, the neon one. That one. It's apparently a fuzz face. So I wondered, can I break into that and put in an extra couple of knobs or whatever it is? I don't know if I don't think there's really anything major different. It's just a couple of extra variable parameters type thing. The problem being with that, which happens with synthesizers as well, is there are settings on this where no sound comes out. It's like, or there's also settings where it's unusable, but everything in between, just screeching and making no notes and absolute silence, everything in between, which I suppose I can see why people don't like that, because most pedals, you know, it's like, unless you turn the volume and the gain to nothing, everything in there's a usable sound, or at least a sensible sound. Whereas in that one, it's kind of there's a bit of a, you need to fidget with it. You might not necessarily get a good sound immediately. You might have to tweak it. If you turn this knob, then this one suddenly doesn't do anything, and it's quite mental. So anyway, I'm using my wee Fuzz face. So it's quite a sustaining guitar anyway, but if I stick on the sustainer, there is a skill to using it, but when the sustainer's on, so I can just play away. It doesn't really do anything until you hold a note and it just never goes away, which is useful. The other mode is I think it's a harmonic mode. It kind of does something a bit different. It seems to be, is it feedback mode it's called? So what it does is it kind of seems to fade things into feedback. I say it's not supposed to be doing it very well. Kind of does that. Which I think maybe if you're using the right level of effects or something like that. I didn't seem to do anything that time. So I'm less convinced with the feedbacky modes. Maybe if it's up through a big amp or something like that, it'll feedback more. I would kind of argue it doesn't seem to be doing anything just now, does it? Yeah. I'm not really sure exactly what's going on there. Check to see the light bulb picture still on. Yeah, so the feedbacky mode, yeah. I do remember the real sustainer had a similar thing where the feedbacky mode was kind of like one of those things, kind of like me putting a phase switch into the coil adder thing. It's like, it gives you another sound for basically just the cost of putting in a switch. So it's like, it does something else, but and maybe there's an adjustment thing on the actual wee circuit board which I've not touched. I just basically plugged it in as it is. There's a wee there's like a trim pot which I'm sure Andrew will faff about with to get it doing more, and it might be something to do with this feedback mode, which was working, but it doesn't seem to be doing anything just now. It might just not be loud enough. Let's try to make it do something. But it definitely works in feedback modes, or in sustainer modes. I also noticed it was doing strange things with on the north coil. That's a humbucker. The single coil both work. South coil works fine, and the humbucker works fine. But when you go into the north coil, it's got something else. Maybe not. Sorry, kill switch. What does that switch do? Turns off the guitar. There's no other uses. try the other mode, see if it's doing anything now. I think it doesn't do that when it's on. Yeah. Different first pedal. Many volumes into the trick. I don't know. That's the other modes. So you need to have the volume up loud enough to get for the feedback one to work. The normal modes. As opposed to interesting, so it keeps going once or turn the guitar off, it'll go off. Yeah. That works, but unless we turn the volume and the pickup down to nothing. And it's still, because it's self-oscillating. The sustainer actually seems to work. With the volume at nothing. Every time volume up, obviously. That's what it sounds like when you're in. You've got the sustainer switched on, but you get the volume at nothing. You put the volume up. It seems to work. I followed the instructions that came with the thing, so it's a little bit to it, but from memory, it runs pretty much exactly the same as the Fernandez one. And this is a non-adjusted one, mind you. The one that I managed to fix before in my pal Alex's Rally Explorer, it was just someone had messed up the battery connections on it, so I didn't actually do any work on the actual PCB type things. I don't know how to do that, but it was like the battery connection was all over the place. I also put in a stereo output jack, which means that when you unplug, light on, you unplug the guitar, light off. So the battery doesn't run down if you accidentally leave it on. Also, I had to cut out a battery box here, which is quite a fancy battery box, to put it in. Which is it kind of would have sort of fitted without the battery box. You could kind of almost fit everything inside the cavity. The fact that I've put in an extra couple of switches kind of made it. Also, I had to extend the thingy to get the control layout actually is kind of good, routed out right to the edge of this board here, so I could get the 4 switches in a row. 2 switches were already in. If I had done it, I would probably put them in the line, but with the knob. But I mean, I think it looks pretty good. This is a guy who's a Dymo label fan. Which is, if you don't know what a Dymo label is, it's one of these. Which a tape printing thing which gives you that kind of, see, the Dymo labels like that. So I'm sure he'll have fun putting on that, saying what the switches do. So that's what it's doing. When you've got it up at that volume, that's what I was saying there, there's like an extra sound with the, when you're in the north coil, the volume up, it does crazy stuff, which it doesn't do in the humbucker mode, and it doesn't do it in the other coil, but in the north coil, it does mad stuff. Guitar is actually pretty good. I like it. I don't think this is actually a Manson. I think it's the Cort copy or whatever. I think he's upgraded bits. Locking tuners, stuff like that. But I originally thought this was the ugliest guitar in the universe, but I've since got used to it and I quite like it. And actually, I think the blue piping he has on this, I don't know if you look back in my videos for when I had this in before, this blue piping went all the way up either side of the neck, round the headstock and all the way back round again, and when you had a wee battery box in the back, and when you turned it on, the whole thing lit up blue, and then you could make the light go all the way around, and you could make it flash and do all this stuff. And the problem was, like the old dimmer switch problem, like interfering with your guitar sounds, it just made this just go beep, like. And I tried modifying the battery box to try and take out the whatever the circuit is that makes it, makes the light move around and makes it flash and stuff, is what's causing the problem, but I just couldn't get it to work without that, so it's now just a decorative item, which I actually quite like. It's quite an interesting look, having the blue on the sides and on the headstock. Actually, when he had it going up the other side of the neck, you're like, you can't do that. But actually, you could play it no problem. It didn't really get in the way. It sounded like one of those things you go, but having like a rubber line with a light button there, like an LED strip in it, either side of the fretboard. But honestly, you just get used to it after 2 seconds, and it wasn't that bad. I think the difference there was you can buy the actual kit to do, like the guy Matt Bellamy, like I keep saying that, I'm not sure that's his name, has got like a guitar that does that, and you can buy the actual thing, the blue light that he's got. It's like 300 quid or something like that, to get one that doesn't interfere, and I think this one was like a tenner at a garden centre. So it's not really designed for this. But I mean, I think it's a really nice playing guitar. It's got really good sustain, even when you don't have the sustain on. You put some distortion on, but you know what I mean. It does. I noticed that the cap has actually been sealed, so you can't see what cap it is. But I mean, if I could find whatever that, I could measure it actually, find out what cap that was. I could fit that to like a guitar like the Raider on the wall, and it's only got one pickup, and it would give me a sort of neck pickup. Not really, but more like a neck pickup than that is. So, rock on, live stream. I've gone for 20 minutes, this was only a short one. Live stream I'm going to do tomorrow night, Saturday night, drinking night, rather than Sunday this week. I think it's probably going to be a bit better. If it doesn't really work out and nobody turns up, then I'll maybe go back to Sunday. I'm just thinking that Sunday's a good night for general eBay tomfoolery, you know, and that's when you get... It's a bit, I just don't, when I normally put things up for sale, because that's when everyone's sitting on the internet. So I think maybe Saturday for the live streams for now, until gigs are back on and stuff and folk aren't in. I think most folk are just kind of used to just being stuck in the house now. So, rock on, and I'll see you tomorrow night if you're about. Also, I was thinking, what was I thinking? I can't remember. I got a new toy today, so it's like, actually I've done one guitar, but I've got another two to set up this afternoon. But I got this in the post, which so far seems to be absolutely brilliant. It's a Midi tone generator, Midi sound module. So what happens there is my Casio guitar, this one, which is basically a Japanese Fujigen built, basically a Fender Strat from 1986. It's got a Midi out on it. One of these things is a Midi output. Unlike the Roland system, which outputs a fancy thing and goes into a computer processor, the computer processor is actually inside this guitar. This is all circuit boards, looks like a ZX Spectrum inside it. So this one just outputs a MIDI signal, so you can plug it into anything that's got MIDI. And for ages, it wasn't working properly. I think, to be honest, I think it was just the switch that was burst. But it's like, it occasionally turned on 1 in 100 times I tried to do it, and I had a big massive Korg that had relatively realistic sounding sounds on it, you know, like pianos and trumpets, normal sounds. And I kind of regretted selling the Korg, even though the Korg was like this size, so there was nowhere for me to put it. This thing, and all the synths I kept, like the Yamaha DX21 and the Casio CZ1, which is actually the one that goes with that guitar. Yes, it does have piano and sounds like that on it, but in 1986 it's what we would now call synthesized 80s synthesizer piano, not actual piano sound. You know, the trumpet didn't really sound like a trumpet, it sounded kind of like a sort of synthesizer trying to do a trumpet. So this is basically just a bank with a general MIDI on it, so it's got all the boring sounds like from the sort of modern era, you know, like a 2000s era piano sound rather than being an 80s piano sound. And so I can just stick the MIDI output or the guitar straight into this, take the line out of this, stick it into an amp, and then I've got a full general MIDI bank, and it's battery operated. That's really all, and I was actually thinking I might even be able to just velcro it onto the front of my guitar. I don't know what advantage there is to that, but it basically means that I would have everything on board. And the big plus point, although it's great having the real sounds rather than just awesome 80s synth sounds, it means I can have that just sitting there or something, and then use my full MIDI guitar without having to wheel through a keyboard from next door and then, you know, taking up this whole room basically to get one of the Yamaha or the Casio synth through. So I might be playing with that. Well, let's be honest, I'm going to be playing with that as soon as I've done this next guitar, next two guitars I'm setting up. I was expecting it tomorrow, so I was already planned. 3 guitars to do today, I've done 1. And then tomorrow, when the MIDI thing arrives, I'll sit and play with that all day. So it arrived today, which has kind of thrown me a little bit. So I've intentionally unplugged it, put it back in its box, put the guitar away, rolled up the MIDI cable, put it on the wall, just so that I'm working on something else. And this guitar's just getting picked up today. Yeah, so rock on, see you tomorrow.